Hey, MB here with a new review on the Warner Brothers production of Transcendence from director Wally Pfister in his directorial debut. He was the cinematographer on, I believe, all of Christopher Nolan's films, and this is him branching out into directing. And it stars Johnny Depp, Rebecca Hall, Morgan Freeman, Paul Bettany, Kate Mara, Cillian Murphy. I'm never sure on how you say his name, and a whole lot of actors in this film. Um, and I did not like it. Here's my take on Johnny Depp, just so you all know. I used to be a big Johnny Depp fan. I was enthralled with him in the 80s. I loved everything he did. I liked the choices he made in the 90s. He switched it up a lot from dramas to romances to, yes, his oddball roles with Tim Burton, to a few, action thrillers. I liked the variety of everything he did. And then he did Pirates of the Caribbean. And don't get me wrong, I do like that first film. But as far as the rest of them, I found them visually stimulating, but that's about it. I definitely dug the art design of those films, but the movies themselves, they didn't really do anything for me. Um, and I felt that was the beginning of the end for Depp, because after that, all he did was his standard oddball character choices. Almost felt like he kept playing the same damn character. I didn't like Dark Shadows. I did not like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I didn't like anything he's done with Tim Burton since Pirates of the Caribbean debuted. He just played the same role over and over to me, as far as I'm concerned. Didn't like Lone Ranger either. And I gotta be honest, this role in Transcendence is to date his most boring role ever. There is nothing at all interesting about this performance. It's almost like he phones it in, like his line readings, everything. There is nothing interesting. There's no humor to this character. It's just deadly dull. And that's the problem with this film, is that it kind of just jumps into the situation of man versus science without really letting us care about the characters. There's no character development in the beginning where we sympathize or care. Obviously, from the trailers, Johnny Depp's character gets shot by a bullet laced with radiation, and that leads him to make the decision to have his consciousness put into a computer, transcend himself, and we don't care. As an audience, you should be saying, yes, we like Johnny Depp's character. We want him to live. We want to see what happens, but you don't. And that goes for all the characters. Every motivation every character has, you don't really care because you don't know their backstory. You don't know why they believe in what they believe in. And it kind of just leaves us hanging. Like, it's a very cold film. Um, no real emotion to it, and that's the problem. Um, And then the concept itself, don't get me wrong, I love science fiction. There is no concept that's too high or too out there for me. But this one, it's not that I don't believe in the concepts, it's just that the way it's presented is silly as all hell. Um, I don't, for me to go in depth about it, I'd have to really break down the story for you, and I don't like doing that. I want people to go see it and make decisions based off their own thoughts. But it just was too silly for me. It really took me out of the film. Let's just say that when they put wires into his head and transfer his consciousness into the computer, that's when I really tuned out. That's when it just was not credible to me at all. And the fact of the matter is that also in this film, in every movie you create rules for the film that the screenplay is supposed to abide by. And this one creates themes and rules and then breaks them in the next scene. And I don't know if that makes sense, but when you see the film, you'll get it. Because I really don't want to reveal secrets of the film. even though this movie isn't that special enough to me to even feel like I should protect it. But there are ideas in this film that are set in stone by characters and then broken in the next scene. And then a whole other set of new ideas are brought into the equation and then broken in the next scene. It's like the screen, and that's not to say that it's trying to keep things interesting or keep things suspenseful. It feels like the screenwriters did not know what the hell they were doing. It felt like they created one setup and thought, oh, this is another cool setup, so why don't we just totally disregard what we said in the previous scene? That sort of deal. Um, so yeah, it's to be honest with you guys, it's rare when I tune out of a film. I can be very lenient when it comes to films because I recognize that certain films are art, other films are just entertainment, and I definitely put into the equation which each genre is supposed to deliver. So I'm very lenient. I'm not too snobby on films. When you see me critique comedic films, that's where I become snobby. I'm not easily impressed when it comes to comedies. It really takes a lot to make me laugh on a film. Um, but on this one, I was really tuning out. I was ready to leave after 30 minutes. The only highlight of this film is Paul Bettany. I think Paul Bettany is a wonderful actor who really deserves more roles because his character is the only one you really care about in this film. And that's not because there's character development or backstory. It's just because he's talented and he's a good enough actor where he can get you to sympathize with him without giving you too much away. Um, so yeah, this was a big disappointment for me. I really like Wally Pfister. I think his cinematography is beautiful. And with that said, there is not a whole lot visually interesting in this film, which even bummed me out even more because his cinematography is stellar in Christopher Nolan's films, but in this movie, I honestly did not notice anything special in the visuals or in the cinematography, which bummed me out even more. I don't know what went wrong with this film, but it was not a winner to me, and it's one I cannot totally recommend. I think everyone should go to the movies and see everything. It's what I do. I'm a huge fan of cinema. So if you're like me, you're definitely going to see this film. And if you have differing opinions, please, in the talkbacks, let me know. But for this one, it was a tough watch for me. And like I said, that does not happen often. So, in effect, I did not like Transcendence. And Johnny Depp is, hopefully this makes him have to work his way back to, buy some goodwill from his audiences. Lone Ranger was a huge box office failure, and Transcendence is also another box office failure. This is two big franchise, or not franchise, but two big Hollywood temples that have failed, and they were all banking on Johnny Depp's name. And I think I'm not the only one who thinks Johnny Depp's name or work is kind of slipping because audiences did not turn out for either of these films. So I think I'm not the only one who thinks that Johnny Depp needs to start changing up his material. So yeah, Transcendence. Did not like it, and that's all I can really say about it now at this point. Amazing Spider-Man 2 comes out Thursday. I'm going to the first IMAX showing, and hopefully I can have a review out for you guys that night. So yeah, I'm excited about that one. But until then, keep watching the films, and very soon I will switch up the format of this. And yeah, cheers. Hope you guys all have a good rest of the week. All right, later.